into the Strike Zone here on 104.5 The Zone and Zone TV. I am Joe Hunk with you every single Thursday at 7-ish o'clock here live from First Horizon Park. Today's been a little hectic, not going to lie. Yeah, SEC Media Days wrapping up, so my travel just to get to First Horizon was a little different. Left SEC Media Days in the Grand Hyatt, hit to the studio, grabbed the gear, did a wardrobe change because if I would have worn what I'd been wearing all day at the Grand Hyatt to First Horizon Park, I'm going to go ahead and let you know I'd be sweating my tail off even more because right now it's not too hot out here at First Horizon, but it's just safe to say that it's a little humid. So I appreciate everybody that's hopping in on the F&M Bank chat that we have going on right now. You can get in on that as well, as Steven's already hopped on. Good evening. Glad the Braves pulled out a win today. Yeah, they lost 2 of 3 to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Won the go-home game today. It's not a bad Arizona Diamondbacks team. It's the number 1 team right now in the NL West. So this is not like you lost to your typical Arizona Diamondbacks baseball team and lost this series to them. This is a team you're definitely going to be seeing in October as long as they stay healthy. So I appreciate everybody that's hopping on. You can go ahead and start getting those comments into the FM Bank chat like we just mentioned a few seconds ago. As tonight, it is rodeo night out here at First Horizon Park. In fact, directly across from me, probably about 50 yards away from me right now, here for Nashville Stampede Night, is a bull. Not a live one. That'd be kind of crazy. But they got a bull. You can see how well you would do if you just happen to want to be a bull rider. They've had actual PBR bull riders out on the field tonight doing contests and games with everybody. There's been autograph sessions, all of that happening here at First Horizon Park. But the reason that we're here, let's talk a little bit of baseball because, look, this entire week we've talked a lot of football. I mean, a lot of football. In fact, I'm actually kind of wondering how everybody kind of handles this period of time because just like today was Tennessee Vols Day. At SEC Media Days, we had Joe Milton on 3HL. We had Josh Heupel on 3HL. And, Amari Thomas was there. You had all these football players that were walking around, especially Tennessee-wise. So we're kind of all getting ready for football season. But this is also kind of starting to become the best time for Major League Baseball as well. You've got the trade deadline coming up here in a few weeks. You've got, obviously, the playoff chase happening. Even though the Braves have somewhat struggled, they've actually gained a game in the standings. It's kind of crazy about how that's happening. And the Nashville Sounds just started the second half of the season. They had a 3-game set in Louisville before coming back home for the 6-game set. Tomorrow night here at First Horizon Park, it is going to be Christmas in July. So they're going to have a ton of different Christmas things. Santa Claus is going to be here for kids. They can go ahead and start telling them what they want for Christmas. My son's already told me that he wants everything Ninja Turtles. Kind of cool with that. Mainly because the new movie's coming out here in a couple of weeks, and he's kind of excited to see it. So you have that, and then Saturday. Saturday's going to be the unique one. And Saturday's going to be fun as I begin to tweet out, which you can follow me on Twitter at Joe Hunk. And it's going to be Bachelorville night. Now, look, I'm going to have to explain this to you because maybe you are like me and you don't know what the Bachelor or Bachelorette is outside of the fact that you've maybe watched it with the wife or the girlfriend or fiance, or maybe you're one of these guys that just loves The Bachelor. There are Bachelor leagues like Fantasy Football League. There are Bachelor Fantasy Leagues, and not like fantasy. I'm talking about you pick your Bachelor, who you think's going to make it to the next week, that sort of stuff. It's like DraftKings has it. It's kind of unique and not weird, but it's kind of strange. But it's going to be an evening in Bachelorville happening here at First Horizon Park Saturday night. So they're going to have actual people that were on The Bachelor and Bachelorette. They're going to be doing a roundtable panel. They're going to be talking about the show, things that they experienced on the show. You're going to have people here that were doing it. There's going to be a VIP area for these folks that you can hang out with. It's also MTSU Scout Night. So you're going to have really kind of fun things going on now. There's actually going to be a scout sleepover that's going to be happening afterwards. Let's hope it doesn't rain the way that it's rained in Nashville the past 24 hours to 48 hours, because that hasn't been fun. I was talking to some people from the Sounds earlier today. I said, so what do you think is going to be happening? Think they're getting the game in? How's everything going to be going on? They said, look, once the rain wraps up about 2 or 3 o'clock, boom, we're good for the remainder of the night. And it's a gorgeous night out here. Sunday afternoon, which is actually really a Sunday night. First pitch is going to be at 6 o'clock. It is Auburn University night. So you can purchase tickets. You can support Auburn. It's also going to be Sunday Family Fun Day. You can come out to the ballpark, round the bases, have a little bit of fun there. So everything that can happen for you between Christmas and July, an evening in Batchelorville, whatever, that's going to be happening on Saturday night for all you bachelorette friends. Guys, this is also a great way to get the girl out to the ballpark if she is not a baseball fan. And if she's a Bachelor fan, then that's going to be amazing that you can do that. And then Auburn University night that you can come out and have fun with that. But tonight, I want you to go ahead and get those comments in. All right, so the F&M Bank chat's open right now. You can hop in, because one question I do have for you is, how are you managing the transition from baseball season to football season? Because we did just have SEC Media Days. You did also just have, or you're about to have, as a matter of fact, looking at it right now, there's 2 days. And rookies are going to report to Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, start getting ready for the football season. Between that and between the baseball season, there's a lot kind of going on. Kids are getting ready to go back to school. You have all this stuff. So how are you kind of handling that if you are a baseball fan? Like for me, I'm a baseball fan, but at the same time, I'm also, when I play video games, I'm kind of a seasonal video gamer. So I like to play video games while a particular season is going on. So this entire summer, I play MLB The Show. I'm always playing MLB The Show. Like right when I get home tonight, Team Affinity Series 3 is out. I'm trying to play MLB The Show. I'm wanting to get all these Affinity 3 cards. But coming up in a couple of weeks, it's going to be preseason. And anybody that pays attention to 3HL, or anybody that watches here on Zone TV, you know that Hunk's Little Baby Titans are starting to get ready to roll. This year we're going to be doing preseason games as well. So I got to start getting ready for Madden to come out. So it's kind of like one of those things of transitioning from the baseball to the football side for myself. I'm kind of struggling with this as well. So kind of want to get those comments in to kind of just see, like, how are you handling this transition from in that period of time? Steven, even though he hopped in right there on the FM Bank chat, says, I'm preparing for it. I'm excited. Football is about to start. Football and baseball, I'm set. That's me, because as excited as I am with football, during the week, you still have all the baseball stuff happening. You have all those storylines where really kind of the uniqueness of the baseball season hops in is when you start to get to Saturday nights and Sundays during football season. And you got to have your baseball on one television, your football on another. And if the Braves are as good as we think that they're going to be over the course of the next few weeks and months, you're going to be going into week 7, week 8, week 9 of the football season. And you're going to be having Braves baseball, as well as you're going to be having college football and the NFL going on. So it's kind of a unique kind of sense that we're going to be seeing all this taking place. So hop in, get in on that chat. I want to hear about what you want to think. But the whole thing about tonight, the uniqueness of tonight, because there's not many events that take place where we're sitting here and we're doing the Strike Zone on a night where there's a major anniversary of a major event that if you are a fan of a team, everybody remembers. Like, you know, we talk about now, whenever Tennessee plays Georgia, you always talk about the Josh Dobbs Hail Mary throw and the Vols winning that game. You're always going to remember it. You're going to remember it more when you start getting into July, or when you start getting into the 25 and 26 or 30-year anniversary of it. It's going to be talked about a little bit more. Same thing goes for championships. It's 2023, so the championships that happened in 2013, you're going to see Florida State start talking about that national championship that they won. 2003, you're going to go back and USC is going to be remembering 20 years of USC football. Maybe they'll finally invite Reggie Bush to be back on campus. So those are our events and memories that we're going to be going. Rick, I appreciate you hopping on Facebook. You can watch us anyway. Facebook to where it is. That's where you can get Zone TV, as well as the Strike Zone. Also, if we wrap up, you missed something on the show tonight, you can go to our podcast. We'll have that up immediately following the show where you can listen to it while you're driving to work or whatever you're doing here on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this week. But an anniversary that's coming up, and is tonight, as a matter of fact, is the 30-year anniversary of the night the Braves caught fire. Now, if you're not a Braves fan, then you don't really know what we're talking about. So here's a little bit of a history lesson so that you can kind of get up to speed on this. 1993, July 20th, the Atlanta Braves were back at Fulton County Stadium getting ready to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. About an hour or two before first pitch, a fire broke out in one of the suites at Fulton County Stadium. The fire spread into the press box, and the entire press box and suite sections of Fulton County Stadium was under, a humongous blaze during batting practice. Over 40 different fire trucks were called to Fulton County Stadium to kill the fire. The Atlanta Braves that night were getting ready to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. They had almost 50,000 people that were going to be at Fulton County Stadium that night to watch the Braves take on the Cardinals. That game got delayed by 2 hours. That was the Atlanta Brave debut of Fred McGriff. He had just been traded from the San Diego Padres to the Atlanta Braves. The Braves were 9 games back of the San Francisco Giants. That would lead to one of the craziest and most awesome pennant chases in Atlanta Braves history that would come down to almost the final day of the regular season, and the Atlanta Braves would go on, take on the Philadelphia Phillies. We know what happened with that garbage. Phillies win. They go on. Joe Carter hits a game-winning home run. Sayonara. But 1993 and July 20th was something extremely unique because for me, I was 9 years old. And it was one of my first true memories of the Atlanta Braves. I remember Sid sliding, but the fire I remember more because my family had just started going to games at Fulton County Stadium every single week, or not every single week, but every single year. And so we went, and I remember looking at the stands and looking at where the press box was, and I was just like, what on earth happened? Again, I'm 9 years old. I can't comprehend that there was a fire. I was just like, oh, that sucks. Don't know what happened to take place there. Because we always went for my birthday. So around the middle of August, we'd always take an Atlanta Braves baseball trip, so I'd go watch the Braves play. This year that took place, we went, and I just didn't know really what was going on, and everything was taped off, and they had to rebuild it. $1.5 million is what it eventually cost to rebuild the press box and the suites and all that around Fulton County. So the whole idea is sitting here and thinking to myself is that was one of my first real memories as an Atlanta Braves fan. And so it makes me wonder as we're watching tonight about your earliest memories of your team as you were growing up as a kid, because we all have our fandoms and how they started. I remember when I started watching college football for the first time. I remember when I was watching the NFL for the first time. Things that got me into certain things, but as a Braves fan, this was one of the very first times that I actually remember sitting down and knowing what was happening. And I look at my son now and I try to sit and think about all the memories that I want to make with him, and I know that there's going to be certain things at the age of 4 and 5 that he's going to vaguely remember as a kid. I can vaguely remember trips at 4 and 5 years old. I remember them better if I actually think about the year. Hey, this took place in 1989. Hey, this took place in 1988. I remember this and I remember that, and so forth and so forth. But for you, what was that earliest memory whenever you were watching? It could be Braves. It could be something other than that. Again, we just talked about how SEC Media Days wrapping up at the Grand Hyatt. When 3HL wrapped up today, we're looking around. All these tables are getting broken down around us as the music was playing. Sal Frelick just did something really cool for the sounds. And so all these things are taking place, and so it doesn't just have to be baseball. Yes, this is the Strike Zone. This is a baseball show. But I'd like to hear your stories about how these certain things happened in your life and how you became a fan, or the earliest memories that you have that are embedded into your soul. You know, we do talk a lot about the history of baseball in this, because I do remember certain things, which is why last week when we were talking about the All-Star game and those uniforms, I can remember 1993 a lot better than I remember 1992 and 1991 when it comes to the Braves. There was a period of time, man, I feel bad for saying this because there's Braves fans that have just went through the crapper for so many years. But there was a period of time like being a Braves fan just sucked. It's kind of like being a Titans fan, like in the 2010s. Every single season, you're like a top 5 draft pick, a top 10 draft pick. Okay, let's get Jake Locker. We think he's going to be it. Let's go ahead and get Conklin. We think Conklin's going to be the fix. Let's get Corey Davis. Like, you're getting all these. Let's get Rashawn Evans. Let's start getting all these high draft picks. We think we're going to be good. Oh, hey, we have the number 1 pick in the draft, but let's trade it back and so that we can get some more capital in this and we can move forward because we don't want Jared Goff. Like, those are the memories that a lot of Titans fans have. And if you're younger getting into this, okay, you may not remember the bad years that were, you know, after Steve McNair, after Vince Young's 2008 season. That 2008 to about, okay, let's be honest, it was about a decade. 2008 to 2018, it wasn't really that great. 2017, that's when you had the playoff run where you upset the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and then the very next week you ended up losing to the New England Patriots. And then you start getting into the 2018 years, and that's with Mike Vrabel. So I was thinking about that with the history of what's going on because, you know, there's a lot of players, especially think about this right now. Like last night, Jordan Beck, VFL, had an amazing game for the Yard Goats. I think it's the Hartford Yard Goats. That's what it is, Hartford Yard Goats. He had an amazing game for them. There's going to be a lot of baseball fans or a lot of people in Denver that when Jordan Beck gets to the major leagues, they're not going to know him as a VFL or that he played for Tennessee. Some kids are not going to know that. They're just going to know about him as a Colorado Rocky, or if for some reason he's traded at the trade deadline, then he's going to be known as whatever player he goes there. And so I go back to like 1993, and you had your Brian Hunters, and you had your Ron Gantz, and you had, you know, you still had Ozzie, and you still had Dion, and you had those types of players for the Braves. You had the big three, Glavine, Smoltz, Maddox. Maddox just got to Atlanta because that was the year that he got traded there as well. And so the whole history of this is kind of something I was thinking about tonight, because now we're at a period of time in baseball where it's nice. The All-Star game just ended. Second half of the season started. Major League Baseball draft just happened. You had a ton of Vols, a ton of Vandy players get drafted. You had a ton of Vandy signees that got drafted. They're not going to go to Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt recruits amazing players. And these players were so good that they eventually are going to go to the major leagues, and they're not going to be going to Vanderbilt because they were one of like the top 5 rounds of the Major League Baseball draft. So the baseball in this state is amazing. In fact, I was talking to somebody at SEC Media Days today, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about what else but if and when Major League Baseball is going to come to Nashville, because he's a huge Tampa Bay Rays fan. Dunaway, love you, bro. And he kept saying, look, I've been saying this for years, that I would love for them to come to Nashville, and I would love for that to happen. And I said, look, this is a baseball city. It's an amazing football state. Obviously, basketball in this state is tremendous as well, from what Pat Summitt did with the Tennessee Vols and the Lady Vols, going all the way to what you were seeing right now with Tennessee basketball on the men's side and the Lady Vols. But I'm curious about this, because a lot of this now is starting to grow into this. We're like, look, things that are happening with the Sounds and these players. There are players in this draft, especially players that got drafted by the Brewers. You're going to be seeing them here in maybe a year, maybe 2 years, depending on what's happening. You're watching the Jacksonville Jumbo Strip right now take place, and Miami Marlins, they're god-awful. There's players that are going to be in AAA playing for the Jumbo Strip here in the next few years that were just drafted the other night. And so the history of how these players have gotten here is kind of a really cool idea to look through in all this. And so this whole idea about going and watching the Braves and in these early memories that you had as a kid, or going and watching the Cincinnati Reds, it's still a ballpark I'd love to go to. I wanted to go to Synergy. Obviously, before that, it was known as Riverfront. But I always wanted to go to Synergy/Riverfront when King Griffey Jr. played there, just because I thought it would just be this unique ballpark to be able to go watch, especially as they were building Great American right outside the stadium. And you eventually had to start tearing down part of Synergy just so that you could build the stadium. So those are types of memories that I remember as a teenager and as a kid growing up. And we got a tweet that says, I was thinking about how I went to Atlanta in 2011 against the Nationals, and I just realized Freddie Freeman hit the game winner in that game. It's kind of crazy how you remember some of those things that you just didn't even think about. Like, I remember going to a Braves game back in the early, actually no, it's probably late 80s. It might have been early 90s. And a fight broke out between the Braves and I want to say it was the Dodgers. Got into this big fight. And I'll never forget that fight for like as long as I live, just because it was something that you don't see on a field. I mean, look, there were fans that were here a couple of weeks ago when the Columbus Clippers were in town, and there was a fight at home plate here at the stadium. Fans are never going to forget that. Players are never going to forget that. Mainly because it's kind of a major bonding thing that you're going to see. And so one of those is something that I think about with this is like, how far back just can you think of a random memory that you just can't place with what year it is? And as I'm posting that question on Twitter right now, as people are hopping in on the chat, we appreciate you hopping in, watching on Zone TV, kind of wherever you are. F&M Bank Chat, wide open to you tonight as we're broadcasting. It was the crazy thing about coming in tonight. Leaving the Grand Hyatt, driving over, getting here, getting to the ballpark. Between the time that I parked and the time that I walked into the gate to get here to my spot underneath the Pepsi Pavilion, the Sounds already hit 3 home runs, scored 4 runs just in that period of time of my walk from the parking lot to where I'm sitting right now to be broadcasting this tonight. So the whole thing about First Horizon and how cool this whole experience is something that I think that if you're a baseball fan, that you should be able to come out and kind of enjoying this. But I know for a fact, as much as we sit and we talk about memories, that I remember some of my earliest memories are going to come from whenever I was going to baseball games at Joe Davis Stadium in Huntsville. We all have those moments. Every single one of us have those moments of what it was like to go to a baseball stadium and watch it. There are kids right now. I mean, again, think about it, not Sulphur Dell, but you can sit and you can remember the memories that you had going to these baseball stadiums. Like right now, I was thinking about it as I was leaving the ballpark last week. And I was thinking to myself, how many times I walked into a Joe Davis Stadium in Huntsville and I can still smell all of the different food items. I can still smell the cotton candy being cooked, the ice cream on one side, the hot dogs and peanuts directly in front of you. I will always see it in my mind, and I will always smell that smell. And I'm constantly looking for that smell wherever I go, because that's part of those early memories that we have in here. And the fact that on July 20th, 1993, there are Braves fans right now that they may be 45 years old, they may be 35 years old, they may be 30 years old. One of their first nights to go to a baseball game, the stadium caught fire. Not the team eventually caught fire, but the stadium itself caught fire. How wild is that you were able to go to a baseball game and the stadium caught fire? I would never forget that for the rest of my life. I don't care if I'd only went to 3 baseball games, if I was 4 years old, 5 years old, 15 years old. The stadium caught fire. Like, I remember the night that the Atlanta Braves won the World Series. And yes, I remember the World Series. I remember the final out. I remember Marquise Grissom in 1995 making the catch. I remember every bit of that. But the thing I remember the most about that night is little Joey Hunk, going to bed on his bunk bed, even though he was an only child. Don't ask, I just wanted a bunk bed. And I'm going to bed, and I'm laying there, and I've got my TV on, and I always watch the same show over and over and over, a movie over and over and over. It's like how I fell asleep the whole time. It always varied. But I remember sitting there watching it in 1995. I remember watching, and I never forget, I'm almost asleep, and some random dude just ran through my yard. Well, Joe woke up. I was like, what was that? That just had to be my imagination. And then, like, 4.2 seconds later, like 6 police officers just ran right across my yard. What on earth is going on? Like, we had those motion lights that you have in the backyard, and so it was all dark, and then, boom, the light came on because the guy was running across the yard, and the police officer just boom, 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 running all the way through my yard. And I'm thinking, what on earth happened? Get up, I go look. Apparently a guy got pulled over, and he started to run. So he started running through the yard. So I have all these police officers and these dogs and all this stuff searching for this guy in my backyard and in the woods behind my house. And that's the main reason I remember what happened in the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series in 1995. It's the craziest way to connect the memory. And so it was so wild to see something like that. And I understand, hey, whoa, okay, cool. Adam, I'll be straight with you, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, that was me, my bad, Hunk. Wait, was that you that just walked past me? Like, did I totally miss that, Adam? Like, was that you that just rolled by? Look, I always tell people, hey, look, if we're broadcasting, you can just roll on up and say hello. Say hi. There's a little 2-year-old girl that's just walking around right here. I've been waving at her for the last 10 minutes before the show started. I was trying to get her to go on Zone TV because, look, I appreciate everybody that hops on, but if there's a little 2-year-old that wants to hop on and look at the camera, man, I promise you, I know that you're going to enjoy that way more than you're going to enjoy anything that I'm going to talk about tonight. I mean, I do. I know you would love that dog that just walked through right now. The one that says, please don't pet. If that sucker came and sat right here beside me and his little head was poking up and he was looking at it, I would have been like, hey, that's a lot better to watch than what it is for whatever you're talking about. Don't care if it's good or bad. Just, hey, the dog's a lot cuter than what you are. All right, I'll take that. Not upset with it. Adam says, no, that was me that ran through your yard. Bro, if it was, you scared the piss out of me. I can't even act like I was cool with it. 1995, little Joe was 11 years old, sitting there falling asleep, thinking about that girl he had a crush on. I was like in 6th grade, sitting there like, oh, I can't wait to get to school tomorrow. I bet you she watched the Braves game tonight. I bet you her daddy had her watching. We can talk about it. That's what I can talk to her about tomorrow. Trying to find something to talk about with this girl. Next thing you know, dude in a white T-shirt. Boom. See, I even knew the T-shirt. He was wearing a white T-shirt, jeans. I remember everything about the dude. Police officers. Boom, boom, boom. Little Joe sat up. Yeah, I'm not going to bed tonight. I'm at least not going to bed now. Go outside. There's 10 police officers and 10 cars that are just blue lights flashing all the way around the road. Nope, Joe didn't go to sleep that night. But I remember that. And there's some little kid that's here tonight. It's his very first baseball game. And he's going to remember that to start this game, the Sounds busted like 3 home runs and like 4 at-batters. It was crazy. They're going to remember that. That's the kind of thing that kind of happens. It's not the game itself. It's the crazy crap that happens around it. My wife, her first ever NHL game that I ever took her to, the Nashville Preds. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for what you did. The Nashville Preds got my wife, she said, and she got us these amazing tickets. They were directly beside the Preds booth. I mean, they're right there beside the team. So right as the Preds were walking out, my wife is sitting there right beside it. Like, oh, hey, this is cool. Look at this right here. She was in heaven. We get to the field, or we get to the ice, we sit down, we got our popcorn, because my wife loves popcorn. She loves two things whenever you go to a game, popcorn and nachos. We have to get those at some point in time during the game. So I've got my nachos in one hand, I got our popcorn in the other hand, we're getting down, we're sitting down. I'll never forget the date, because it was January, matter of fact, it was New Year's Day. It was January 1st, 2022. Never forget it. And so we're sitting and we're watching, and I'm not joking. Within the first 4 minutes of this game, the Preds were playing the Blackhawks. They scored 5 goals. It may not have been 5. It may have been like 4. But they were all over the Chicago Blackhawks, like in the first 4 minutes of the game. And my wife's like, I love hockey. This is amazing. I said, oh, this ain't how it always is. But now she always wants to go to a hockey game because she thinks it's that fun. Like she wants to go to an NHL game. Not like a minor league game like Adam, like you and I grew up in Huntsville going to. Not like that. Talking about minor league, no. She wants National Hockey League. It's what she always wants to do because she loves it. She loved going to all the Titans games because they were so much fun. Her first NFL game that she ever went to was a Titans game. I want to say it was the Titans win. It was the Titans win over the Saints in 2021. That was her first game that she ever went to for the NFL. She had a blast. Every single week, hey, can we go to another Titans game? Hey, can we go to another Titans game? She had a blast with it. There's a kid sitting out here right now tonight that's going to have that same memory because something cool happened. And now all I can think about is the night that the Atlanta Braves press box caught fire, July 20th, 1993, 30 years ago tonight. Matter of fact, right now, that sucker 30 years ago was on fire. It's kind of weird to think about life like that. Like my son now is infatuated with the Titanic. Mainly because I was infatuated after the submersible went down and then you saw all these bad things that happened. And so he's just infatuated with the Titanic. So now I was like, oh, yeah, son, like at this time, 120 years ago, this was happening. He's like, that is so cool. It's like, yes, this night, 120 years ago, X was happening. 110 years ago, X was happening. Adam, the Channel Cats, boom. Huntsville Blast, Huntsville Channel Cats. Now they're the Huntsville Havoc. Like, bro, no, we're not talking minor league hockey. I worked for all of those teams. I appreciated them. I love them. But my wife now is infatuated with the NHL. That's why we love coming to Sounds games. Because if you can't go watch a Major League Baseball game, bro, you're going to see that here. Like, this is Major League talent at the AAA level. Majority of these players that are on the field right now are good enough to be in the major leagues. There's just a guy directly in front of them that they're waiting for to get in there. They're just waiting for him to get hurt. It's kind of a weird life because you want guys to either get hurt or suck. It's like, man, I love you to death, but God, I hope you suck it up because I want to be up there next week. God, I want you to be there because I want to get that Major League Baseball paycheck. I want to play with that third level. I want to remember all that. I want to play there. I want to be able to say, you know what, I played in the major leagues, but I need you to get hurt. I need you to suck it up. I need you to bat 125. So they need to look down at the minor leagues and go, hey, the guy for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, he's kind of killing it. Hey, the guy for the Nashville Sounds is kind of killing it right now. Brewers leading the NL Central. At some point in time, some of these players for the Sounds are going to get called up for this. That's why it's cool to come out here and watch it because, again, Sal Frelick, I was talking about him. He was up in the major leagues for a good portion of the season this year. Heck, if you play MLB The Show, his card, go get his rookie card that they're going, part of Team Affinity 2. That thing rakes. I love playing with that. Steven, I want to go to a Texans game wearing my Titans gear a weekend they aren't playing the Titans. No, you know what I want you to do, Steven? I want you to go buy yourself a new Oilers jersey that's about to come out here in a few days because, yes, we saw those drop and then we saw those jump. And what I want you to do is I want you to wear that Oilers jersey with Derrick Henry's name on it, with DeAndre Hopkins' name on it, and I want you to wear that to NRG Stadium. That's what I want you to do because you're wearing Houston Oilers gear, but you're wearing a DeAndre Hopkins jersey. I kind of want to see what the reaction would be if you roll up into NRG Stadium rocking the Houston Oilers jersey with the DeAndre Hopkins on the back, because Houston Oilers fans and Houston Texans fans have been like, bro, it's a sweet jersey. Now they're just going to be pissed. I kind of want that. I kind of want you to do that. I also kind of want you to join us next week as well. Next Thursday night, 7 o'clock, same bat channel, Zone TV, same bat time, 7 o'clock. Next week, I promise you I'm going to be a little bit more on time. And I kind of just want to hang out and talk with you and learn a little bit about everybody that watches and listens to Zone TV and the Strike Zone podcast. I really want that, because I appreciate every single one of you guys that hop in every single night and watch this. As I'm just sitting here BSing with you, as people walk randomly behind me and just look at me as going like, what's this guy doing with the webcam? He's kind of strange looking. I appreciate that, man. I really do. And you also need to get out to the ballpark this week. Nashville Sounds tomorrow night, Christmas in July. Saturday night, the Bachelor event. Sunday, Auburn University night. You can run the bases. You can have a lot of fun. First pitch Sunday night. Don't forget, that's going to be 6 o'clock. That's not your normal 2:35 first pitch. It's a 6 o'clock first pitch. It's going to be a little bit cooler. It's going to be a little bit nicer out here. It's going to be a little bit more beautiful. It is a beautiful night out here. Make sure that you come to First Horizon Park. Make sure that you come out and enjoy a Sounds game. Get that Sounds gear. Rock that stuff. And guess what? Not only is it baseball season now, next time we'll be talking, it's also football time in the state of Tennessee. Let's get ready for that. Start getting ready for the trade deadline, the playoffs, every bit of it. Have a great night. I will see you next week, 7 o'clock, right here on Zone TV. Thank you so very much for watching the Strike Zone on 104.5 The Zone.